All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders, where we talk to founders about their companies, their visions for the future, and how the two collide. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to Beenu Arora, who's a co-founder of Cyble. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Thanks, Matt. It's going really well, and thanks for having me in your show. Really excited to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on and learn more about what you are working on. For people that haven't heard of your company, that haven't heard of Cyble, great name, by the way. What is Cyble? What are you working on?
Yeah, so Cyber is a cybersecurity or cyber intelligence organization, Matt, where we empower organizations with the dark web and cybercrime monitoring. To give you a bit more context, these days a lot of cyber attacks, when generally they occur, they don't just come on the surface or on news outlets on day one. There's a months of planning, execution, and then the penetration of organization that happens in the dark web. And we really aspire to be a pioneer in this space on how we can cover the threats at the earliest stages of an attack lifecycle.
So walk me through a little bit about the origin story here. Why did you decide to get started at working on this company in this space, and why Cyble?
Yeah, so as probably your readers would know, there's a lot of security companies out there, and I've been a cybersecurity practitioner myself for over 15 years, and having worked with some of the largest tech companies as well as oil and gas companies previously. Now, one of the biggest challenges which we notice, and it's all based on the insights, is that the life of security officers lately have become like a hustler, where they're getting a lot of information from different security companies, which is important and urgent. So there's too much stuff going around, and they're just trying to stay on top of it. And uh, based on our experiences, what we have learned over the years is that these cyber activities, or cyber nefarious activities, or cybercrime activities, they generally don't just come out of nowhere. They are very much being infested in the dark web or in the deep web space. And if there is a capability which can cover that particular space of the internet, which by the way, it's over 90% at this point in time, then the organization can be a little bit more proactive and they can be a little bit more organized in terms of addressing it. So shifting that mindset from the information which is important but not urgent. And that's where we started our journey with Cyber in June 2019, where we bootstrapped the organization from the day one. And in March 2020, which is exactly a year from now, is where we were ready with a product which we thought we can sell and deliver the value to prospective customers. And since then, we have proven time to time on Cyber's efficacy as well as the depth of our coverage when it comes to uncovering the cybercrime and various cyber nefarious activities in the dark web.
As you've been starting this company, and you just said, it's been a little bit of a journey. You have a lot more, a lot more ways to go. But what have been some things that you've learned so far? It could be about fundraising, about
Yeah.
the product itself, about the market. What have you learned on the journey so far?
I think quite a few things. The first thing is, generally when you start a company, you have a hypothesis or you may have some insights, but in terms of getting that insight to a product which we call as a product market fit, it takes a while because you need to have a lot of interactions on service with your customers, and if you don't have one, then the prospective clients. So this is probably the first, one of the key learnings for us is how do we make sure we don't end up creating something which people don't want it. So when we bootstrapped the organization, we had to do a lot of surveys, a lot of discussions, make sure we get some continuous feedback from the industry, so that we don't get into a trap of forcing a product to be a product market fit rather. So that's the first insight, which we also work really hard for. The second part, which is on the market itself, product market fit is a very, very subjective term, depending on who you talk to. What we also learned about over time is, PMF, it depends on which region you're taking your products to. So when we go out to the US market, there are certain use cases which Cyber outshines other alternatives or competitors, but not necessarily that's the case in Asia, for example. So you have to look at again, which markets are you really targeting? Who are the key players? What are the buyers really most concerned about? I'll give you an example. When we started the organization, we've been very focused on the deep on the dark web, but often the Asian customers, for an example, they were also interested in surface web. So we had to build the capability around that over time to make sure that we don't end up, giving, a product which is not addressing, the other issues of the customers, which we know we can solve it. So we had to cover that part over the journey. So that's the second thing. So keep on, I would say validating your PMF or your product market fit, strategies there. And the fundraising part, I think, from my perspective, and that's my advice to all the fellow entrepreneurs as well. Uh, it's really important that the first part of the MVP when you have a product. I think that's where it's highly recommended that you have your own technical co-founder in your org. I was the technical guy in my organization, so had version one myself ready. But then we decided to fund the company through the customer's money. So a lot of growth which we were able to capture, or the market which we were able to capture, was mostly on the customers contracts, and that's a pretty good validation as well, because when you are putting your next 10 years on an organization, if not more, you want to make sure that it actually works to start with. And if you look at the fundraising aspects, the trends have changed a lot. Funding is not that easily available. Yes, there's a lot of dry powder in the market, but not for everyone who wants to do a startup. So it's all about, if you're able to prove your efficacy as a business and able to attract some good customers, uh, everything else will just follow through in alignment. That's my experience so far.
I appreciate you sharing that, and I think that's very valuable advice. A couple more questions for you. We mentioned when we were first talking, they're based in Atlanta, and I usually don't point this out in interviews, but there's something about Atlanta I realized over the last 6 months. It's kind of blowing up. There seems to be so much activity and entrepreneurial activity going on in Atlanta. My question for you is, what's going on there, and what's it like kind of building a company there? And from your perspective, what's going on in
No,
Atlanta?
no, I think, in my humble opinion, Atlanta is super attractive for the reason it produces a lot of engineers from that place. I think, if I'm not wrong, I think it's one of the three states in the United States which produce the highest number of computer science engineers, and that's a really lucrative supply of resources from that region. And as we all know, talent attracts talent, which attracts investment opportunities. And also, there's a lot of investments which a lot of universities and the state agencies also putting in the region. There are a number of technology companies who are headquartered over there, and that's just attracting more talent pool. So wouldn't be surprised if at some point people start using, like a Silicon Valley version two of the US. So that might well as happen. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. It is really interesting. I'm looking forward to interviewing more companies from Atlanta. So if you were to kind of look out into the future, 5, 10, 15 years, what do you see as the big picture for Cyble? Or I guess in other words, what's the big vision here and what direction are you rowing in?
Yeah, I mean, our ultimate vision is to be the Google of the dark web, and that's the grand mission which we are working towards. Uh, again, that's a vision which me and Manish, who is my co-founder, shares together. Uh, but naturally, as a business, we obviously have to meet the market requirements by addressing those customers' needs and unmet needs. More importantly, uh, from a shareholder perspective, uh, they have a view of the Cyber is a potential candidate to be one of the largest player in this space, and that's what really excites us as well. So over time, what's going to happen is three things, in my humble opinion. Uh, the first part is we are obviously expanding, or sorry, not expanding, but getting deeper into, or penetrating deeper into the existing markets. In US and Asia is one of the core market focus for us, and that's what we're going to be continuing to invest on. Expanding in new markets, and we have some really cool partnerships which currently we are just finalizing, which will help us to go to the other parts of the world as well. Our products are not, are industry agnostic. So we, for example, as of today, so some of the largest tech companies all the way to banking and financial services, even energy organizations. So we have pretty much a good coverage from industry and from regional perspective. And yeah, I think as we grow the org, or as the organization grows, uh, I think in those attracting and retaining the talents is going to be the most critical component. I think this is what our top line is. If you ask me as a founder, it all starts to who are your team members, and how do we make sure the business can scale to a point where it becomes lucrative for everybody who's involved in the ecosystem. And that's going to be one of the key priorities for us. But yeah, 10 years. I mean, I think I already answered the question to you first.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, in order to make that happen, I think it's a super awesome vision. It's going to take some help, right? You're going to need some help to make it happen. So my question for you is, how can the forward-thinking founders community help you out and make it happen? Are you hiring? Are you raising capital, looking for customers? How can we assist?
Yeah, so we almost closed our seed round. For those who don't know, Cyble is also a part of Y Combinator, Winter 21 cohort. And we had an opportunity to interact some of the amazing other founders to that community. Uh, since we are closing our seed round, which is hopefully going to happen in the next few days, we will be investing significant part of it in the US market, which translates to recruitment of talent across sales, marketing, engineering, even cybersecurity research. So it's all about the growth aspect. I think that's where the Cyber is going to be heavily focused on for the next 24 to 36 months. And yeah, if you are interested to be part of a disruption or a change or making the society better, then feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to have a conversations. We are not the smartest people, very humble, down to earth guys, but we always look for people who have that, drive to make things happen, and that's what we look forward to speaking with.
If someone's interested in working with you, and like here's that, and they're like, that's me. How can they learn more about you? What's your website? Do you have social media? Do you have an email address? How can someone get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a presence through pretty much all the leading social media channels, but our website is cyble.io. And there you can follow in terms of the work which we have done, even the customers we work with, along with all the research which we regularly publish through our blogs, which is cybleinc.com. And that's where you can learn about more about us. And in case someone is interested to learn more about Cyber, they can always just contact us, and we are very much open to hear about thoughts, ideas, or even criticism for that matter.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate it, and best of luck building this out.
Thank you so much for having me today, Matt. It was a pleasure.